pick 31. Ideally, what would you like to see them do with it? Move up, move back, stand pat, take a certain position, fill a certain need, just take the best player available. What would you like them to do?
Yeah, you just said something too I want to hit on because it kind of got the brain going a little bit. I've talked about this on my show on the 49ers Report, where I think that you could see this core of offensive players return in 2024. But if you're thinking ahead right now and saying, okay, we might not be able to afford Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, maybe this year we draft Deebo's future replacement, which is a Malachi Corley type of player, who is a Deebo Samuel clone, or an Xavier Legette who has that A.J. Brown thick type of body. So that kind of got the wheels churning a little bit in my head. What I think the Niners need to do in the draft, I think what's held them back in the biggest of games the last 3 years is bad offensive line play. And you look back to the 2021 NFC Championship game, what happened? Offensive line broke down. Aaron Donald burst through. Jimmy Garoppolo has to throw that heave to JaMychal Hasty. Interception. Game over. You blew that fourth quarter lead too because protection was an issue. 2 years ago in the NFC Championship game, Philadelphia ruined your party. I know you had Tyler Kroft out there on Hassan Reddick, but the Niners got their asses kicked in the trenches all throughout the NFC title game. And then the same thing literally happened against the Kansas City Chiefs once again in the Super Bowl this past year in February. So if I'm at 31 here, I'm looking at a couple of different options. I really like Graham Barton as a guard. I like Troy Fuatano out of Washington as a guard. That probably requires a trade up. I like Zach Frazier at center, Jackson Powers Johnson at center. You can play Graham Barton at center. If you want a developmental offensive lineman where Colton McKivitz, because you extended him, might be your stopgap option once again, even though he gave up 45 pressures last year, you take a swing on a player like Amarius Mims or a Tyler Guyton. Mims had 8 starts in his college career. Guyton has 13 starts at right tackle in his college career. And those are the types of players that I'm looking at. I would not be shocked if they go defensive tackle for the reasons that I mentioned a little bit earlier, because you literally do not have a young, dependable defensive tackle on that roster. The backups are Kevin Givens and Kalia Davis right now. You really need to fortify that. If they go edge rusher to get a young player like Chop Robinson, you know, I could see the Niners going that route. If they went wide receiver, it wouldn't shock me. So it's very interesting because everything I think is on the board. And then we talk about the Niners cornerback room all being on expiring deals. What if a Kool-Aid McKinstry falls? What if a Cooper DeJean falls because the Niners saw on tape how much havoc Trent McDuffie was able to cause because he's a versatile player like DeJean, good athlete, slot, off the edge, hybrid linebacker. I like where the Niners are kind of set up here, where they could go best player available depending on how the board falls.
When you start talking about draft prospects, you kind of sound like Mel Kiper. Anyone ever tell you that?
I don't want to sound like Mel Kiper, but you know,
just in cadence.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. The reality is,
I've done so much. Not like what, not the content.
Okay,
but you know what you're talking about. But just you got a little Mel Kiper in you, which is cool.
Hey,
you can take that anyway. I just wanted to say that round one.
I like
you look. Yeah, you got it too. You got the look going on too. I'd like to see the Niners trade down. Like if Penix is there, if Bo Nix is there, don't reach for a need like you always do in round one. Like you always freaking do. Trade down. I know they traded up for Brandon Ayuk, traded up a few spots. So I guess if there's a wide receiver that Kyle Shanahan falls in love with, he's got a good track record with that. Anything else? And I'm really curious to see what they do without Adam Peters this year, because it seemed like all the moves they made in free agency were like Brandon Staley moves.
Yep.
Guys he knew, guys he'd worked with, which is fine, but those guys were all 30. And which person in this front office knows the players in the draft? Is it John Lynch? I'm curious. It's not Kyle.
No. Yeah, Adam Peters was doing the work. He was doing the legwork.
Yeah, he was doing the homework and said, here, you watch these 50 people, John, make a decision. Now, I guess they had new people that got promoted, but I'm curious to see how good they are. I mean, they couldn't have been worse than they did the last 2 years.
Yeah. I like the trade back option too, because let's say you're at 31 and a Raiders wants to move up to 31 to get Bo Nix or Michael Penix, right? And the Niners are looking at the board and they're like, okay, Kingsley Suamataia, the BYU offensive tackle, Patrick Paul, Roger Rosengarten, who the streets are talking, the Niners really like him. He's available in that 40-50 range. You trade back, you gather some more draft capital. I don't hate that strategy.
Yeah, like you have pick right now, what is it? 31, 63, 94, and then a bunch of stuff on day 3. How about get a bunch of stuff on day 2?
Yep.
That's what I would do.
Players there.
high impact players, and don't let Kyle make the picks. Like, make it a collaborative group project as opposed
no running
to
back in the 3rd round, please.
no tight end, no blocking. The thing about the Cam Latu pick that killed me is like he's a blocking tight end, but they couldn't even get him on to the regular season because he was so bad at catching the ball.
Could not catch the rock.
You can't take a blocking. They took a blocking tight end and a kicker in round. That's peak arrogance. It's like, look. We're so much better than the rest of the league that we're just gonna fill in around the edges. And no.
Yeah. Shocking when you think about it, with where we are in modern day football, that the Niners went with the blocking tight end who can't catch the football and a kicker in round 3, when you can get some really legitimate players who can be plug and play guys right from the jump in the 3rd round.
The Niners are kind of conservative in certain ways. Like, other things, they're patterns. You talked about Kool-Aid McKinstry and Cooper DeJean. I love those players. They're both really good, and they would help the 49ers. Did you know that since Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have been here, they have never drafted a DB before round 3? Not one. It's like, why? And part of me feels like John Lynch is in his office somewhere being like, you know what? I was a 3rd round pick, and I was a Hall of Famer. So why should why can we go yeah, I mean, we can find good ones. I was round 3. Why can't I find good ones around 3? And they have found good ones, but it's possible that the best player available at pick 31 is Cooper DeJean or Kool-Aid McKinstry or another DB. And it's kind of rigid to say, well, we don't do that.
Good businesses are malleable with their thinking. Like, good businesses are malleable with their thinking. You have to be able to adapt and adjust. And that's kind of what annoys me sometimes with the Niners, is how rigid they are. Oh, we've always done things this way. Why change? Well, if you keep having that mindset, that's when other teams pass you by.
Dave Barclay says, GC, this guy is good. I got on late. Keep it up.
Salute, man. Thank you.
This guy, I feel like Dave just heard of you.
Maybe.
Shout out to Chase Senior. He's got like 130,000 million subscribers on YouTube.
Catching strays from Ayuk's agent today. No biggie.
Yeah, that's when you know you're big time.
Me and you are getting blocked by Niners players these days. It's crazy.
Who you blocked by?
Debo.
Me too.
Yeah.
Ayuk hasn't blocked me yet.
Yeah, me either. I love Ayuk though. He's a dog.
Me too. King 2144 says, if Brock has stats close to last year, 50 mil, 100 mil. You know who never got 100 mil? Mac Jones. 100 mil. Remember that? All Niner. Purdy also had a statement about BA that sounded like a farewell in the Pat McAfee show.
He talked in past tense. I didn't make too much of that. He basically said, I want what's ever best for him.
So do I. Aru Illustri says, sorry, Grant, I can't watch this guy. Pick a team.
Because I cover the Eagles. Gets a lot of people triggered.
I'm not a Niner fan. You watch me.
Yeah.
Did you not know that I'm not a Niner fan? Anyway.